God has a summer dream for us. It's not a winter dream. There's nothing at all about winter in God's summer dream for us. It's what we would call here at New Hope over and over again. It's a glory dream. And a glory dream is forever warm. In a glory dream, we are forever young. In a glory dream is a forever happily ever after. Not a fairy tale. It's a glory dream. But all of us here this morning, we long for a summer dream. We long for a glory dream. But every one of us in here this morning has experienced shattered dreams. There's not one of us in here this morning that have not had or even now are living with a shattered dream. If you're a man of almost any age, at one time he had a dream. When I was a little boy, the football player, the basketball player, I had a dream. And it got shattered pretty quickly because I'm slow and I can't jump. And so I enjoyed the sports, but I realized real soon that I wasn't going to be able to pursue that dream. Some of us maybe had a dream. I had a dream, me and some friends got together. This would have been in the late 60s, and rock and roll was taking over. And so we formed a little band, and I was the lead singer. Yeah, we were in trouble right away. It got shattered pretty quickly. I used to read lots and lots of Norwegian mythology, Greek mythology, all these great stories, other stories. I read a lot of Tarzan books. I read a lot of books where, again, there was this poor little boy, and he ended up having a rich uncle. So I used to dream that I would have a rich uncle, and a rich uncle never materialized. So lots and lots of shattered dreams. For you ladies, you had some dreams. Yeah, you had a dream that one day you would maybe marry Prince Charming. Now, ladies who are married, don't elbow, don't look at him. We had a dream. You had other dreams that maybe life would go much different than it has for you. You had dreams, and we all are here because of shattered dreams. One of the great stories that is told, one of the great musicals that's been on Broadway for years and years and years, seen by millions and millions and millions. I've read the book. I've been to the Broadway play a number of times. I've watched some of the movies. Probably most of you have too. And it tells a shattered dream in such an amazing way that just moves people to tears. It moves oftentimes with shivers as you see this woman sing this song from Les Miserables. I dreamed a dream. I dreamed a dream. I want to quickly go over the lyrics of it because it tells us exactly what we think and then what happens. It says this: there was a time when men were kind, when their voices were soft and their words were inviting. There was a time when love was blind and the world was a song and the song was exciting. There was a time. Then it all went wrong. I dreamed a dream in time gone by when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiven. Then I was young and unafraid, and dreams were made and used and wasted. There was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted. But the tigers come at night, with their voices soft as thunder, as they tear your hopes apart and as they turn your dreams to shame. He slept a summer by my side. He filled my days with endless wonder. He took my childhood in his stride, but he was gone when autumn came. And still I dream he'll come to me, that we will live the years together. But there are dreams that cannot be. There are storms we cannot weather. I dreamed my life would be so different from this, and so many of you know that blank there. I'm living so different now from what it seemed. Now life has killed the dream I dream. Again, one of the things that the lyrics of this song alludes to is that oftentimes, usually, dreams for ourselves are for ourselves. There really wasn't an expanding dream for others in that song, was there? It was really about this woman having this dream that all went wrong. So usually our dreams are for ourselves. Their dreams for ourselves are really what you'd call not long-lasting, expanding dreams. They look like they expand if you get more money, or you buy a place up north, or you can do all kinds of things that look to build a bigger house as the years go by. They always look like they're expanding, but they're really not long-lasting, expanding dreams like God has for us. He's got a bigger dream. Again, a couple of quick illustrations. People will play the lottery because if they win that much money, the dreams they could fulfill. And even if a Jesus follower would be playing the lottery and they'd win the lottery, many of them had said to me over and over, Pastor, if I ever win the lottery, I'm going to give a big portion of it to the church. So if you give 10%, if you would give 10%, that would be amazing. But the 90% is still for you. And so many of you know story after story after story of this lottery that would make all your dreams come true. Usually ends up being in some awful kind of nightmare where they lose even millions of dollars in a matter of a couple of years, and their lives get just ruined in so many ways. And then there's so many stories that we watch, that we follow, of people kind of dreaming and scheming for a bigger piece. Maybe it's in your family. I grew up with 3 younger brothers, and we were kind of poor, and so we were always kind of fighting for the biggest piece of meat, even if it was just that much bigger. We were fighting for the biggest piece of pie, even if it was just that much bigger. It gets more serious when you start dreaming and scheming for a better car, a better house. We've heard so many stories of how people can get so ugly when they're fighting over inheritance. And maybe they will separate and not speak to anybody again because you got $1,000 more than me, even if it was $50,000 and $49,000. But you hate them. Dreams for ourselves are usually for ourselves. God has a summer dream for us. So much bigger. So this is the first Sunday of this series that we're going to be doing on this last day, Sunday of May, and as we move into the month of June for 3 Sundays. How to follow God's summer dream. How to follow God's summer dream. Last week, Pastor Chris, as he was wrapping up our series on your mark, he talked about the time that Jesus was walking on the water kind of in the middle of the night, and kind of a storm raging around, and the disciples on the boat saw him and they got really, really afraid. And Peter, always Peter, Jesus, if that's really you, tell me to come out and walk in the water. And Peter came out and started walking on the water. But when he took his eyes off of Jesus, he started to sink. And then he quickly went back to, but Jesus never took his eyes off of Peter. Jesus never takes his eyes off of us, even when we think he's not looking at us. So I want us, as we think about this idea of how to follow God's summer dream, is to see the dream in Jesus' eyes for you. See the dream in Jesus' eyes for you. How we're going to think about this dream over the next number of weeks is this morning we're going to look at what we would call God's summer dream for Joseph. We're going to go back in the Old Testament. In Genesis chapter 50, in Genesis, beginning with chapter 37 and going all the way to chapter 50, except for chapter 39. And as you go through these next number of weeks, if you would get out your Bibles, either a paper Bible or a phone app Bible or a tablet Bible, start reading Genesis 37 through 50. But Genesis 39 is not about the Joseph story. Don't read Genesis 39. It's not G-rated. What will all of you do now? You will go home and read Genesis 39. But we're going to look at kind of the end of the story when the summer dream truly does come true. In Genesis chapter 50, Joseph's 10 older brothers and his one younger brother comes to him one last time that it's recorded for us. And Joseph speaks words to them, and these are the words on our screen. He's speaking this to the brothers, especially the 10 older ones. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. And then these amazing words, so do not fear. I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. We're going to come back to those words that Joseph speaks. Here's what I want to do this morning is I want to look at Joseph at age 17, age 39, and age 56. Again, as I just said, Joseph has 10 older brothers. He's got one younger brother. We'll get to a lot of numbers, and I think you're going to enjoy the numbers when we get to them in just a moment. But let's read the beginning of the story and then jump through this amazing story that's recorded in our Bible. So in Genesis chapter 37, verse 2, it says this. These are the generations of Jacob. He's the father of 12 sons, as we're going to see. Joseph, being 17 years old, so there's where we get 17, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. We'll get to those two ladies, his father's wives. And Joseph brought bad report to them, to their father. And then we get this insight. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than any of his sons. Again, if you live in a family that's got more than one child, if there would be this just very obvious favoritism, that usually doesn't go well in a family system. Because he was the son of his old age, and he was the son of the wife that he really loved, but she had been barren for well over a decade until she finally has Joseph. And he made him a robe of many colors. We've heard about that. There's a Broadway play, Joseph in the Technicolor robe or something like that. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him. Again, we don't like to think about intense hate, but I want us to feel that there is an intense hate, and they could not speak peacefully to him. Now, Joseph had a dream. He had a dream, but it doesn't say anywhere that he should share the dream. God gave him a dream. Now, Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, hear this dream that I dreamed. He's going to kind of sing this life song. Behold, we're binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheep arose and stood upright, and behold, your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, are you indeed going to reign over us? Or are you indeed to rule over us? So they hated him all the more, even more for his dreams and for his words. How old were the 10 older brothers when all this was happening? So our next screen is going to show this chart. So again, you know, the Bible never approves of more than one wife, but it records there were people that had more than one wife. So Leah and Rachel, they're sisters, as we know. So they're going to have these 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 disciples of Jesus, ages of older brothers when hating Joseph. So Leah ends up not the one loved, but she has all these children, Reuben and Simeon and Levi and Judah. You can see their ages there. They're married. They have children. Bilhah, who's Rachel's maidservant, and you can read about that before Genesis 37. There's Dan and Naphtali. Then Zilpah, who's Leah's maidservant. There's all kinds of intrigue going on in here. Gad and Asher. Issachar, Zebulun. I wanted to throw Dinah in there because she is mentioned, this daughter, and finally Joseph, then finally the younger brother, Benjamin. So just think that for 30 years and 25 years that these older brothers just can't stand Joseph. Not just one day or 1 month, but then year after year. So even when they're old and have children, and they still hate this younger brother. The next screen is going to show us brothers' ages when God's dream for Joseph comes true. It's 22 years. We'll look at it over in detail over the next number of weeks, but 22 years from the time that he gets sold into slavery until the time the brothers come in, bow down. So I'm going to just catch the ages. 52 down to 42. These aren't young men anymore. And Joseph himself at 39 years old. Then what we read in Genesis chapter 50, it's after the father dies. Ages of the brothers when their father dies. You can see those ages again, 69. Joseph himself being 56. And after all those years, even though their lives have been preserved for these 17 years since they came down to Egypt, they're old men. But yet they tell one last sad and fearful lie to Joseph. But we see Joseph speaking warm grace to his older brothers with what we could call a beauty, a goodness, and a truth. And notice how they bow down once again. From Genesis chapter 50, this won't come up on the screen, but Genesis chapter 50, verses 15 to 19. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him." So they sent a message to Joseph saying, and again, this is a lie, "Your father gave this command before he died." They're going to appeal to the authority and to the love of their father. "Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgression of your brothers in their sin because they did evil to you. And now please forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of your father." And Joseph wept. I think his heart was broken that his brother still had this fear and couldn't realize how good God had been to all of them. Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him again and said, "Behold, we are your servants." But Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of God?" And Genesis 50, 20 to 21 again says this, "As for you, you meant evil against me." Again, Joseph isn't giving him a pass here. Well, you meant so many years ago, it was for evil, but God meant it for good. He had a summer dream at the end of that nightmare, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear, I'll provide for you and your little ones. And thus he comforted them, spoke kindly to them. So we see in this passage that God's summer dream for Joseph, it's all coming true. But it's a dream for the good for many. Again, that's what Joseph says. It's God's summer dream has come true for Joseph. It's a dream for the good of many. It's an awesome dream. It's part of why we're here today. But there's another dream. We could call it God's glory dream for Jesus. And it's not a dream just for the good of many. It's a dream for the good of all. This glory dream for Jesus. We know that not just the people that nailed Jesus to the cross, that made him go to the cross way back when. We know that all of us, before we knew Jesus, we meant evil against him. We might not think that we did, but the evil that's in us is the same evil that put Jesus on that cross. We meant evil against him. But God meant it for good. So we don't call it Evil Friday. We call it Good Friday. It's a dream come true for all the world, for us in this room, for some Hmong friends over in Vietnam and Laos and in Thailand, for people all over the world, for people out in our community. So let me wrap up the message with asking a few questions. How old are you? That span of ages from 17 to 56, from 30 to 69. Doesn't matter what your age is in there's this morning. God has a dream for you. It's not a small American dream. It just isn't. Every small American dream has an ending date. You know it, even though sometimes we run so foolishly after it. And the destruction of souls that happens when they just run after a small dream for themselves. God has a dream for you. So how to follow God's summer dream for you. So as we go today, how can you offer comfort and speak kindly this week, as Joseph did to his brothers? He could have unleashed on them. We know how that can happen. But Joseph, he speaks comfort and kindly to them. How can you speak that to yourself? Sometimes we don't speak real kindly to ourselves. We don't speak comfort to ourselves. We can be pretty hard on ourselves. How can you speak comfort and kindness to yourself? How can you speak kindness and comfort to souls that matter? If you're married, you have young children, if you have older children, when you go to work this week, you have a boss that doesn't speak kindly to you, how can you speak kindly? How can you speak kindly even when it's meant evil against you? Following Jesus. Following Jesus. See the dream in Jesus' eyes for you. Look into his eyes, and he has a dream for you. Look into his eyes and see the dream he has for you. It's a summer dream. It's not a small dream. It's a summer dream. Even when autumn comes again, even when winter comes again, as it will, it's always a summer dream, following Jesus. Let's pray.